Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Anthony Joshua's pursuit of an April 2019 fight with Deontay Wilder is continuing, with its promoter Matchroom Boxing confirming a percentage offer has been made to Wilder's representatives. Previously, when negotiations fell over in July, a flat fee of $15 million US was on the table. Both Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn have commented publicly on the revised offer that has been sent to Shelly Finkel. In a tweet, Barry Hearn stated, "So now a new improved offer has been made to Wilder's camp. Let's see if they will finally agree to a meeting to discuss or not. Fans will find out if both sides really want this fight. And I know AJ does. No obstacles from our end, so just waiting for a response." Eddie Hearn, meanwhile, he's been in the Ukraine for the WBC convention. He spoke to K2 Promotions and TV network Inter while in Kiev, saying, "We made a new offer yesterday, an improved offer for the 13th of April, which this time was a percentage offer. But we'll see. We asked for a meeting at the beginning of October because my dad was in New York and Shelly said no. It's so frustrating because some people in the public say, you're ducking Wilder. We're calling them saying, we can have a meeting, and Shelly will come back saying, well, you don't want the fight. Why am I asking to meet you in New York? I'm not doing it for a laugh. He said, make an offer, and we can have a meeting. So I've done that. Now hopefully we can have a meeting." And Hearn, he also chimed in on the Wilder Fury press tour saying, regardless of the build-up, it's a really good fight to find out who the second best heavyweight in the world is. Okay, so where to start with all that? This new offer, a percentage offer, in my view, a big development for a potential Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fight. Eddie Hearn had between April and July. He wouldn't budge from a flat fee deal. First he offered $12.5 million and then $15 million after that in an improved offer. That's US dollars, that is. So on the face of it, this does represent progress. But there's always a but with these sorts of things. Now the actual percentage becomes the sticking point, because if it's like 7% or 10%, 15% or even 20%, that's not going to get a deal done. Deontay Wilder was adamant when negotiations failed in July that he wanted a 50-50 split, and that's when negotiations would start again if they resumed. So we've now resumed. And the 50-50 thing is something that both Eddie and Barry Hearn have said on various occasions, quite loudly, is just not going to happen. Eddie Hearn's view is that if Deontay Wilder thinks he can get 50-50, he doesn't want the fight. Because in his view, and Barry Hearn's view, Joshua is a clear A-side with proven commercial history. He is the one bringing in all the money, while Wilder is about to be in his first pay-per-view event with Tyson Fury in December. So this is the stuff that Eddie Hearn has been arguing. And back in April, Wilder penned a personal letter to Joshua, which Shelly Finkel released to the media, and it said, "I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight you at 60-40. I'm ready to fight you in the UK. My team, you asked to meet with yours. They're ready. Just let us know, and there is nothing on our side as an impediment. I can't wait to meet you in the ring. That's what we want. It's the only thing we're pursuing. That's the only thing to do." So 60-40. Potentially, that's going to get a deal done. I think a lot of fans would agree 60-40 feels about right. A lot of Deontay Wilder's hardcore fans think 50-50. They believe that he will be the A-side after a win over Tyson Fury, if he can get that win. I'm still not convinced that 50-50 is viable in terms of the history. I mean, it really depends on how that event does. But potentially 60-40. It's been spoken about before. That might be enough to get a deal done. But will the offer that's just been made be that much? I highly doubt it. It's going to be lower. They're going to leave themselves some room to negotiate to wherever the agreed position with Anthony Joshua is. And Anthony Joshua, he might only be prepared to give Wilder between 30 and 35%. After all, that's a similar deal to what Joseph Parker got. He got somewhere in that range, although the exact percentage was never officially disclosed. Just the range between 30 and 35%. And the thing now is the offer good enough to get Shelly Finkel to the table to negotiate? I'm sure that there's a percentage figure that Shelly Finkel has in his head that he can go, okay, I can work with this. We can work up, negotiate, all that sort of stuff, if it is in fact offered. But the risk is, if he perceives the offer to be a bit of a joke, say it was like 22%, and then he just says, well, there's no meeting, I'm not interested. And I'm sure if that happened, Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn would be out there publicly saying, well, Deontay Wilder and his people don't want the fight. But you could be sure that Finkel, whatever the percentage is, if he said no to a meeting and Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn went public, he would be out in the media in a shot, in a heartbeat, saying whatever the percentage is, trying to say, look, they're looking to lowball us. It's unfair for a WBC champion who would also be the lineal champion if he gets through the Tyson Fury fight. And that's what the deal is dependent on. Wilder winning in December, taking the lineal status, becoming a bigger star, which in turn makes the fight with Joshua even bigger. So should he lose, he won't get the fight. It's that simple. He might get a fight with Joshua down the road, but probably not in April. And the contract, whatever they agree on, if they can in fact agree on anything, it would be void. And we'd potentially be turning our minds to a Fury rematch, or potentially even at the outside, a Fury and Joshua fight. Remember, Frank Warren is saying he thinks that is still possible if Fury gets through Wilder. With rematches, who knows? I mean, Frank Warren's saying a lot of things right now. We'll just have to wait and see where the sort of chips, sort of fall. But that whole situation with rematches, sufficiently murky. But it probably also depends on how other rematch clauses are structured, because some have pointed out that it may not necessarily be immediate rematches, and it could be, potentially within a year or something like that. But getting back to the offer, it's going to have to be sufficiently tasty to get Finkel to the table. And if he agrees, we can probably assume the offer's not terrible. May not be what Wilder's people want, but it probably won't be terrible. But it's unlikely to be anywhere near 50-50 like Deontay Wilder has stated that he wants, and it's likely to be less than 40% as well. So in some respects, putting this contract up to Deontay Wilder's people, saying to Finkel, look, here's the offer, meet with us, it is putting it back on Deontay Wilder and Shelly Finkel publicly. And part of that is to restart negotiations, but part of it is the optics as well. They want to try get out from under the claims of ducking that have started to surround Anthony Joshua. Sometimes the person who yells the loudest sometimes gets hurt. Anthony Joshua hasn't made a lot of noise on social media throughout the last couple of months, whereas Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and people associated with those camps have been. And a narrative has been starting to take hold to some extent, even beyond Deontay Wilder's fan base, that Anthony Joshua is ducking. There is a general feeling among some that through the previous flat fee offers that Joshua was doing, that it wasn't enough. He wasn't doing enough. He was being greedy. And sure, while it's business, everyone wants to haggle over their cut of the pie. The ducking accusations have been levelled at Joshua. And Hearn has pointed that out himself. And he doesn't like it. He wants to get out from under that. And the other part of this offer, and getting a deal done now, is that it locks in Deontay Wilder's value. It caps it. Eddie and Barry Hearn will know that if Wilder wins in December, his profile in the lucrative American market, it increases significantly. And his value alongside that increases accordingly. And I'm sure to some extent, the offer that's been lodged, it will factor that in to some degree. Because if Wilder says no to the offer now, there's every possibility he could come back after December the 1st and say, look, I want to negotiate now. I'm a big star now. And he will ask for more, and potentially he could get it. And sure, I get that some people like to base Wilder's value on his 10-year career as a whole and sort of say, oh, he's fought 39 bums or whatever. But in boxing, it doesn't necessarily work that the guy that you fought 5 years ago determines your value now. You can have 1 or 2 big wins and your commercial value shoots through the roof. And we've seen in 2018 that Wilder has beaten Luis Ortiz in a very good fight, and that helped his profile. He's then been involved in very public negotiations with Anthony Joshua. That helped his profile. Now he's in a very public situation with Tyson Fury. And a win over Tyson Fury increases his profile and thus value again. By how much, it's hard to say. But we can't just say because the Ortiz fight paid him $2.1 million that he doesn't deserve considerably more. He could go from $2 million for Ortiz to $15 million for Fury to $40 million for Joshua. The leap could happen, and it wouldn't be bizarre or strange. It's just what happens. The hype, the event, and it's not just Joshua in the fight. The two of them have to combine to make a mega fight happen. So who knows? Maybe he will get 40 million, maybe it'll be 50 million, maybe it's 30 million, maybe it's less, more, who knows? It depends on how big the hype train for a Wilder and Joshua fight got. So if you lock in the percentage now, the bigger the fight gets, the more everybody gets. And hence why Matchroom wants to tie down his value now, because if he negotiates later on, gets a bigger cut, say 45%, well, that's obviously in his interest. So in all likelihood, it has to be a good offer that they've submitted now. Otherwise, they could end up paying more in the long run. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.